what people hear right now, they hear you say, hey, this is bad, you're not minimizing it, but you got a few bad apples in every bunch.
I didn't say that.
Well, the implication is that these are just bad guys. There's got to be more to this, Richard, than just bad actors.
In public life, one bad apple ruins the barrel.
Well, these are more than one.
Let's be clear. But this is happening on Wall Street. This is happening in journalism. This is happening in the corporate sector.
You know what, though, Richard? We elect these people. Don't give me that we shouldn't have a standard of them. They don't have their hand out.
I agree with you. I am not excusing it. I'm not minimizing it. I'm trying to understand it. And to say everybody does it without any evidence.
There are a lot of honest people in politics. There are a lot of good people in politics that see these opportunities and they pass on.
Richard,
Andrew, you've been quiet here.
I'm just... Well, first of all, I think the money in all this, money in politics, I mean, it's the single biggest media market in the country for New York City. So I think that plays a big role in all this. But
they get bought for cheap. That's what's surprising me.
20 grand seems to be the magic number in most of the cases. But what I don't get is this profession attracting these sorts of characters?
It is now.
And so somebody says, you know what, I want to hatch an evil plot to make lots of money illegally. I'm going to go into politics, or are they just turned once they get there?
It's a viable career. I mean, you come up through politics. It's a viable career for someone who isn't a lawyer or isn't anything, can go up there, have a career, get some power, and leverage it to his own benefit.
Now attracting people whose moral compasses are not what they once were or should be. Okay. The reasons for that are complicated as well. But let's judge it for what it is, not for what makes a good headline.
Now, what I want to get to next is this story with Malcolm Smith and a host of characters, including Mr. Halloran and possibly others here. Bill, what's the scariest part about the story to you? That these rocket scientists thought that they could do this harebrained scheme here with envelopes and projects to get a lifelong Democrat on the line to be the Republican nominee for mayor, or that if they were just a little bit smarter, and they did it just a little bit differently, this would have actually been legal.
The scariest part to me is that most of the news media missed the real story here. What Malcolm Smith, and I'm theorizing, what Malcolm Smith was after was the matching funds. No, he's not going to win the mayoral election as a Republican. He's not going to win the Republican primary. But by going in and using the 6-to-1 matching fund program in the city, he can raise $3 million, or a little bit more than $3 million, and he can go and launder that money and put it back in his pocket. He could go to a printer and say, I'm mailing out 1 million pieces of mail, and he can report that. The printer could send 25,000 pieces of mail, split the rest of the money with him, and who's going to know it? Who's going to go check those mailboxes? I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. It's free money. It's
that
free
argument,
money.
which it ought to be thought about. This is not weird. Is essentially that campaign finance reform
made it worse.
Is the cause of corruption.
No, free money is the cause of corruption.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
But let
I'm
me bring it to a more basic level.
It's counterintuitive, and it ought to be discussed.
Richard, in November or in the primary, when somebody goes in to close the drape behind them and they're going to go vote, they don't care about the inside baseball, about how the ballot was processed. But they're starting to get a little bit of a crash course to say, wait a minute. A guy who's been a lifelong Democrat till whatever he flirts with, whatever party, get whatever power in Albany, he's now dealing with the Bronx party chair. He's dealing with the Queens party chair. He's dealing with, so they'll put him on the ballot. Is this how people get on ballots?
If you're not a member of the political party, it is, and it ought to be that way. There really ought to be a fence to jump over if you're a lifelong Democrat like Mike Bloomberg and decide that you're going to come in and run as a Republican because that's politically convenient.
But that's
the law makes sense.
That's interesting because the Times, there's a line from the Times from an editorial today that I want to show everybody, because in 2001, Michael Bloomberg, who was a lifelong Democrat, basically gave chunks of money to county Republican parties, and
it's
that
legal.
Right, and there's the explanation in the Times today.
So he's one of your indictables?
But
no,
but because he gave money to the party,
not to the individual. That's
because he gave money to the party, it's okay. Malcolm Smith gave money or is accused of giving money to individuals, so that's no good. If Malcolm Smith had been a millionaire or a multimillionaire and had the money to just donate to the party,
that's correct.
He'd be on the ballot as a Republican right
Richard,
now.
It's all in who is your lawyer. Seriously. If you have, when I say half of them, this is what I mean. I'm glad you brought up the matching fund schemes. That's the next one.
been putting
Gonna
LSD
see
in your
you're
Coca-Cola?
going to see a lot
Yeah,
of people
exactly.
indicted because they're not interested in politics. They become a candidate just for the matching funds, and then they
They
steal
buy
the
themselves
money.
computers, they
right.
buy
the
themselves
other scam.
laptops and
Okay,
phones.
Richard is elected. I'm your boy. I set up the social service agency for you to deal with poverty. I go rent the office out from your brother. We pay him $3,000 a month. The scam goes on
He
and
knows
on and
how it
on.
works.
I know very well how it works because the politicians they would
dare
talk
you
about
be
it in front of
offended by
me.
this?
Right.
This is
Because
every
you're
day it seems
conflating.
as
You
if
want to
it's
solve
nothing.
this problem? Then you got to think about it with a little bit of intellectual rigor, which is apparently in short supply on my left right now. You are conflating two things: abuses of a campaign system that are illegal.
He'll be in
which is a
denial to the
problem
very last
we
one.
ought to deal with.
Yes.
And thieves.
No,
And the
not
two
thieves.
separate
People that are
problems.
creative in the language that they use.
No.
That's what this is all about.
if the
Smith would have just used a little bit of different language, he
but
wouldn't
if I
be
follow-
indicted
if I
today.
follow you, consulting fee.
The
Right,
institution,
right.
the institution of Albany is not rotten. It's that you have a few people who gravitate to it that shouldn't. Obviously, something has to change.
I've never had need for a ghostwriter before. And if you're trying to put words in my mouth, knock yourself out.
Well, you're lashing out the world. I want to keep you focused on what you
what
know.
I'm
keep it on
saying
me.
is
Keep it on me.
We got two, please. We got two separate and distinguishable and important problems. The problems of a campaign finance system in which legal behavior is unethical, and the problems of people who steal. They are going to have to be treated differently.
It's too easy to steal.
And to the
That's
public,
the
it's
issue.
all one problem.
Exactly.
Because of people like you.
All right, here he goes. We're going to
Well,
take
all
a
right.
quick break. When we
People
come
like
back, we'll talk about Rutgers here. More developments in that story. Stay with us.